Abducting creatives? Will I be issuing a ransom demand? Logically speaking, that would be clearly illegal. Logically speaking, what would semiotics have to do with abduction? How can abduction help form the best semiotic solution to visually communicate to your target audiences? Okay, enough questions. Let us just get on with abducting creatives here on Semiosis 101, shall we? Oops, another question. Sorry. Welcome to Semiosis 101 Season 2's 13th semiotic video. If you've watched Semiosis 101 videos before, then you'll already know I am Dave Wood. Season 2's semiotic theme is a semiotic Rosetta Stone, which is a metaphor to the unlocking and designer-centric translation of Charles Sanders Peirce's semiotic theory of semiosis. Sign action. Why do you need Semiosis 101? Peirce's writing and terminology is very obtuse. Carrying on from last week, I will be focusing on semiotics as part of designing experiences within our visual communication outputs. In this video, Abducting Creatives, we logically examine how to use semiosis to connect with your target audience. To do this, I will not be demanding any ransom payments, or you could check out the Scout Scott Redbubble shop for an illustrated gift or three. Hit subscribe and I will explain. In previous Semiosis 101 videos, I have outlined how Peirce's choice of terms can be problematic and confusing. Semiosis 101 is all about explaining Peirce in designer-centric terms instead to avoid confusion. But sometimes there's no way around a word. To the lay people who attempt to read Peirce to quickly get an understanding of his theories, there is an immediate disconnect from their lived experiences of what words mean. To the philosopher, when focusing on logic, the three forms of logical reasoning, deduction, induction, and yes, abduction, are clear. To the non-philosopher, abduction conjures up different mental images. Ironically, that is an example of semiotics in action. If, when you read or hear abduction, your first mental image was not logic, but sacks over heads, chloroform, and notes cut from newspapers, this video is for you. Stop dialing the police. Abduction is a form of reasoning. Abduction has been referred to as the logic of design by Nigel Cross. So let us quickly stop using the term abduction and from now on use the term abductive reasoning instead. In fact, I would prefer to use the term hypothesis instead. But first, we will explore why Cross refers to abductive reasoning as the logic of designing. All within the context of using semiosis to enhance visual communication, of course. Thomas Vent, in his book on designing experience, Designing for Dasein, states that creatives use reason in different ways. Vent says that creatives use induction and deduction to understand the present state of the audience's world and use that insight to abductively create alternate futures. Logic used to understand, logic used to create. Klaus Krippendorf argues that meanings are constructed from previous experiences, expanded on them, and drift much like imagination does. During the ideation phase of creativity, a designer or illustrator will be sketching possible ways to solve the client's communicational need. We can call this ideation the what could be phase. As creatives, the what could be is not an absolute truth to deduct. The what could be is not a scientific proof to induct from the evidence. The what could be a creative devises to visually communicate to the target audience is the most appropriate solution to hook target audience attention and to semiotically retain it long enough to visually communicate to them. This what could be is reasoned abductively in the creative ideation as hypothesis for how designers or illustrators can appeal to the target audience's lived experiences. With a working hypothesis, a creative can quickly begin to seek creative solutions. With a working hypothesis, a creative can quickly begin to sketch visual ideas to represent the intended communication. With a working hypothesis, a creative can quickly begin to shape their understanding of what visual qualities and resemblances their audience will be familiar with. With a working hypothesis, a creative can be wrong, but as this is ideation, any errors are not terminal. Errors in thinking are just steps in the design process toward a visual communication solution. In ideation, creatives dare themselves to fail enough times to begin to get a sense of what will visually communicate the intended message. With a working hypothesis on the target audience's shared lived experiences, visual qualities and resemblances can be explored through what Peirce defines as, yes, abductive reasoning. Peirce sees abductive reasoning as a form of guessing or inference to the best explanation. In his collected papers, Peirce gives an example, but let us give his example some designer-centric context and make it about the target audience. Okay, the following example may be fatuous to some, but bear with me as we begin to unpack abductive reasoning within ideation and applying semiosis. Qualities and resemblances. Okay, a cinema-going target audience. Working hypothesis. The surprising quality we observe in a cinema-going target audience is that they all enjoy being in the dark together. Abductively reasoned conclusion. We can state the experience of being in the dark together with other strangers, obviously to watch a film, is comfortable to the target audience rather than being a problem to avoid. So, if, an inference, it was true that the target audience are comfortable in the dark, the quality of darkness would be a suitable visual language starting point to begin to visually communicate with. By beginning to semiotically encode qualities of darkness through resemblances, a suitable visual language can be crafted to evoke the qualities of being in a cinema. Think of this as basic visual communication building blocks of semiotic iconic representations, utilising dim outlines and fuzzy projected light glares, silhouettes of dark head shapes, a tiered point of view, etc., to begin to suggest that comfortable, enjoyable vibe the target audience enjoys in the real world. From that initial visual aesthetic to hook the audience's attention, then the rest of the design or illustration can have a chance to maintain that attention. Once the target audience's perception is visually triggered, this is when the semiotic sign action can really begin to work on the target audience's further subconscious interpretations of the design or illustration. By framing a client's need to communicate something they need action on, by stating the visual language used to first subconsciously evoke a feeling of something familiar to a certain audience, then semiosis can enhance the visual communication further. In this example, I use a cinema-going target audience, mainly because as I wrote this week's video, I was sitting in Edinburgh's Cameo Cinema Bar. What do I have in common with the other people in the bar on a sunny day? Is everyone in the bar going to sit in the dark and watch a film on the particular day? The answer is no. Some of the patrons may just be in for a coffee and a sit down out of the sun. Some of the patrons may be like me and are in the bar to have some quiet time to do something other than watch a film. But as a cinema bar, there are many people who use it who fall into the target audience of cinema goers who prefer to sit in the dark with strangers surrounding them to watch a film rather than watch Netflix at home. In previous videos we have discussed primary, secondary and tertiary audiences. As we are discussing abductive reasoning, we are only concerned about the shared qualities of cinema goers and not cafe visitors or laptop Wi-Fi hoggers. With abductive reasoning, we can very quickly arrive at the working hypothesis that cinema goers enjoy the darkness. From this working hypothesis of enjoyable darkness, creators can begin to semiotically craft possible aesthetic decisions to appeal to the target audience. The client's brief may have nothing to do with films or going to the cinema, but the client has identified their target audience as cinema goers. Remember, this is just an example using some designer-centric context about a possible target audience. They could all instead be goat farmers or anything. It is just a working example. So whatever starting point you use to get some quick, free insights into your target audience, abductive reasoning can begin to reveal experiential qualities that can provide creators with visual clues on how to grab attention. Once perceptually grabbed, the visual language from the aesthetic choices the creative makes can be strengthened through sign action with iconic representations. To end this 13th Season 2 video, we can conclude that the visual qualities and resemblance that a target primary audience will connect with can first come from a creator's free working hypothesis. Firstly, this is not simply guessing without any firm evidence. It is a legitimate logical thought exercise called abductive reasoning. Secondly, as a working hypothesis, it can change once more is known. What the hypothesis does provide the creator during ideation is a starting point to begin sketching visual communication ideas. Thirdly, from the hypothesis, visual qualities, e.g. darkness, can be visually explored as an aesthetic to hook the attention of the desired primary audience. Now, this hooking is semiotically encoded with qualities and resemblances that are familiar to the target audience. Come back next week and we'll semiotically explore this further. I am Dave Wood, a design educator and researcher, a published design author, and I've worked commercially as both a freelance illustrator and graphic designer. The guy behind the theory, Charles Sanders Peirce, was a philosopher, a mathematician, and a theorist. But he was not a creative. Each week on this Scout Scott Semiosis 101 YouTube channel, I will post at least one 10-minute explainer video on an aspect of Peirce's pragmatic semiotic theory. Each video will feature a take-home piece of applicable semiotic theory, and they do interconnect to build up your understanding of semiosis. Each free Semiosis 101 10-minute video will use design-centric terms instead of theoretical language. As a fellow creative and a published design author, I have a link in the description to my Scout Scott website. If you're interested in reading my Semiotic Rosetta Stone academic writing, then you can visit my academia.edu link in the description. Any other books on Peircean semiotics or design I have mentioned in the videos are also listed in the description. Check them out too. On the Semiosis 101 Substack semiotic resource, I have support materials for both free and paid subscribers. There are full annotated reading lists, video transcripts, 5-minute reads, plus other goodies and exclusive Semiosis 101 merchandise. The Substack link is in the description. Thanks for watching. Check out the other Semiosis 101 videos, like and share them with your friends, and hit the bell and subscribe buttons to be notified when next week's free Semiosis 101 video is published. You can also follow Semiosis 101 on the socials for updates. It is Semiosis 101 on Instagram and Twitter. See you all again next week for more Semiosis 101 to help illustrators and designers to enhance your visual communication skills.